Today we're going to be talking about formal writing tips and strategies to keep in mind when you're writing your paper. First of all, let's take a look at how you cite titles correctly. So, if you have larger works, they need to be italicized if you're typing. For instance, books, newspapers, magazines, and movies all should be italicized. If you're handwriting a paper, you can then underline the title. For shorter works, you need to use quotation marks. This could include article titles for magazines, newspapers and journals, short stories, poems, and even songs. Next, let's take a look at essay structure. First, you want to introduce your essay and give your reader an idea of what you're going to be talking about. The most important part of your essay, and arguably the most important part of your paper, is your thesis statement, which we'll talk about later, but it acts as a roadmap or a guide to the rest of your paper. Next, you're going to support your thesis statement with 3 body paragraphs that will explain 3 different topics that tie in with your thesis statement. And lastly, you're going to want to conclude your paragraph. Here are some tips on how to write your thesis statement. Your thesis statement should do the following. It needs to take a stance on a certain topic, whatever topic you are either assigned to write about or choose to write about. Again, it's going to act as a roadmap to the rest of your essay, so you need to have a clear idea of what you are going to be covering. Also, you need to have a claim that can be argued. You don't want to say something that's just a fact. Your thesis statement should also be the last sentence of your introduction. You want your thesis statement to be concise while still giving your reader a clear outline of what your essay is going to cover. Make sure your thesis is not too general. It should cover your specific topic. We'll be working more on thesis statements during class. Next, let's talk about paragraph structure. You can think of paragraph structure along the same lines of how you structure your entire essay, except obviously it's smaller. Your topic sentence, very similar to your thesis statement, should act as a roadmap for the rest of your paragraph. It lets your reader know where you're going with that paragraph. You need to have also 3 examples in each paragraph. These examples need to highlight and emphasize your topic sentence, and ultimately they need to help support your thesis statement for the entire paper. Keep in mind, each time you give an example, you need to think to yourself, does this example support what I'm trying to get across in this paragraph and also in my entire essay? You need to end each of your body paragraphs with a concluding sentence. This sentence should wrap up what you are trying to get across in your paper. Make sure you tie all of your ideas together. Also make sure that when you're giving examples, you need to remember to ICE, which stands for introducing your example, citing your example, and explaining your example. Now, as promised, I have a little musical presentation for you.
Alright, stop. Collaborate and listen. Misfits back with my brand new edition. Sometimes grading papers is frightening, especially when it comes to explaining and citing. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Get these rules straight and let's go to the extreme. You work hard to get a handle on how to introduce, cite, and explain your examples right. Go get your keyboard and boom. Start killing your paper. Don't let the due date loom. Deadly. When you give examples correctly, introduce where your example came from. Stop neglecting cite. Don't forget to give credit to where or who you got your example from. Get it? One more thing. Don't forget to explain how your example supports your thesis claim. If there is a problem, yo, go solve it. Check out your paper, rewrite and resolve it. Ice, ice, baby. Introduce, cite, and explain. Ice, ice, baby. Introduce, cite, and explain. Word, write another.
All right, enough of that. Now, in case you missed it, this is why it's important to ICE. First, you need to introduce. This is extremely important because you want your reader to know where you're getting your example from, either in your story or in your research. Next, you have to cite the page number. Where are you getting your information? This is extremely important as well because, say you're writing a research report, you have to give credit where credit is due. Or if you're writing an analytical essay where you're looking at different texts, you need to let your reader know where in the text you're getting your example. If you take a look below, it says, example, this is how to cite correctly. Pay close attention to where the quotation marks go. If you are working with multiple sources, you need to put the author's last name and the page number within the parentheses and a period after the parentheses. If you are writing about one particular story that you have already introduced in your paper, you just need to include the page number. For example, again, this is how to cite correctly, within quotation marks, the page number in parentheses and a period at the end. Finally, you need to make sure you explain your example. You do not want to just quote dump. By that I mean you don't want to just give an example or a quote and expect it to explain itself. You need to show your reader how that example supports your topic sentence and also your thesis statement. This is critical when writing essays because if you just give the example and don't explain, your point might not get across to your readers. Another important aspect of writing papers is transitions. A transition connects one idea to another. They are important because they allow you to connect ideas, so different examples within your paragraphs, and they also let you connect paragraph to paragraph. You want to make sure you flow smoothly from each paragraph and from each example. They improve the connection between your thoughts and they show how ideas in the paper are connected or related. Here are some examples of transitional words and phrases. Again, finally, as a result, furthermore, as opposed to, even though, likewise, similarly, and on the contrary. You use transitions when you want to go from one idea to the next. For instance, if you're talking about a certain topic or example, you want to then move on to your next example and show how that example ties in with the previously mentioned example. Finally, we have some rules that you might want to break, but please don't. First of all, avoid using crazy fonts. Make sure you write in Times New Roman size 12 font. Your paper should also be double-spaced. Don't use don't. By this I mean avoid contractions. Use cannot instead of can't. Use do not instead of don't, and so on and so forth. Also, avoid using first or second person. First person would be I, me, we, us. Second person would be words like you. The biggest reason not to use first or second person in formal writing is because you want to remain objective. Some examples are, you should avoid violence. This is an informal example. You can change this and say, one should avoid violence. You want to avoid saying, I believe that, or I think that, because it makes it sound as though this is only an opinion and you are giving your opinion. Rather, when you're writing an analytical essay or an essay where you're arguing a point, you're using examples and information that you have researched and found to support your claim. So it's not just something you believe, but something that's well supported and well written. And finally, it's time to wrap up your paper. Conclusions are important because you want to leave a lasting impression on your readers. Your conclusions should accomplish the following. It should emphasize the main point or focus of your essay. It should summarize the 3 subpoints of your essay, what you focused on during each body paragraph, and it should also leave your reader with an interesting final impression. You do not want to present new information in your conclusion. You want to highlight your major points and leave your reader with something to think about. Good luck writing your essay, and I look forward to reading it.